This is a classic example of volatility. Just before we went to that commercial break, the market was dead flat. Now, after we come back from a 2-minute break, we're down 123 points. That is volatility. Look at this, an intraday chart. This is the movement of the Dow thus far today. As you can see, we've been all over the place. We opened down 500, moved to up 330, went down, back. I mean, that is
it's like the Rocky Mountains,
volatility, isn't it?
It's going to be like, yeah.
This is not a market for amateurs, Charles.
No.
This is not a. I just don't think it is. What do you say?
It's not a market for amateurs to try to play the trading game. That's for sure. They're going to get whipsawed around and shaken out of this thing. You know.
Hold on a second. I suspect there's a lot of people who bought, say, Apple. As soon as the market opened, they bought it at 157. The thing moved up to 163. They'll sell it. And then it'll go all the way back down again. They might buy it again and trade it back. Yeah. That's what's going on.
Yeah, there's a lot of that trading out there. And a lot of these programs, too, moving the market without any sort of rhyme or reason. But, you know, I will also say that I saw for the week and a half coming into this, it looked like a deliberate attempt to spook investors anyway, to sort of shake them out of this market. You remember, we had a lot of sessions before last Friday where we were down, up, down, up. The volatility started picking up in a way that was pretty intriguing.
Okay, you could see it coming, maybe. All right, Charles, you did, I didn't. All right. What does the White House think about this sell-off? Come on in, please. White House Principal Deputy Press Secretary Raj Shah. Raj, what is the official White House response to the sell-off?
Well, Stuart, thanks a lot for having me on. But this president and this White House are focused on long-term economic fundamentals, which are very strong. We have a very strong labor market. As we saw on Friday, unemployment remains low at 4.1%, and wages are rising for the first time in nearly a decade at a serious level. Corporate earnings are strong, and you know, the president's tax cut plan is going to provide fuel for the economy in the way of incentivizing business investment in the United States and providing middle-class tax relief. So we are focused on the long-term economic fundamentals.
Okay. Why did yesterday, as the president was speaking in Ohio, as he was speaking, the Dow tumbled 1,000 points in an hour, but the president did not refer directly to the stock market. Do you think that he will refer at some point in the very near future to the market action?
Well, he may. And look, the market's been fluctuating for the past several days that the markets have been open. But, you know, our focus, again, is on the long-term fundamentals, a strong labor market, corporate earnings, the Tax Cut and Jobs Act that the president signed into law in December, which has led to hundreds of companies making investments in the United States, giving worker bonuses, raising wages, et cetera. So we're very happy with where this economy is at. We understand that there's some market volatility, but the long-term economic fundamentals are very strong and continue to be strong.
Your political opponents are trying to paint President Trump with the big sell-off brush. They're trying to link him, almost blame him for this sell-off. What say you?
Well, look, the market as a whole is up over 25% since this president took office, north of 6,000 points. So we're happy to talk about the president's economic record, including the stock market. And we're happy to also talk about these healthy long-term fundamentals that I just pointed to. Again, the labor market is very strong, corporate earnings are very strong, and the tax cut bill is going to continue to incentivize growth and investment in the United States. We're very happy with his economic record and happy to have that debate with the political opponents.
As the market was selling off big time yesterday, the president used some pretty strong language. He was talking about the treasonous behavior of Democrats who did not stand for the State of the Union message. And I believe later on, he called Adam Schiff of the Intelligence Committee a liar. Do you think it's appropriate for the President of the United States to be using that kind of language at a moment like this?
Well, look, this president is unvarnished, and he was obviously speaking in jest in that moment yesterday. But, you know, he calls it like he sees it. And with respect to Congressman Schiff, look, Congressman Schiff has been a part of a House Intelligence Committee investigation in which he and other members of the House minority have been leaking confidential information that they receive voluntarily from the White House in a way to try to politically embarrass us. I think the president calling him out is entirely appropriate.
Okay, Raj, I have to bring this to your attention. I'm sure you know about this already. There's a report in New York Magazine that says during the campaign, you referred to Mr. Trump as a deplorable and referred to the release of the Access Hollywood tapes as some justice. I don't believe you were part of the Trump campaign at that time, but did you say those things?
Well, I was not part of the campaign. And let me just say thank you for bringing that up, Stuart. Look, this president ran in a crowded field with 17 opponents in the Republican primary, a very strong field. And he won because he had the strongest message, and he showed this country why he deserves to be president of the United States. He won the American people over. He won me over in the process. I'm very proud to come to this building every single day and fight tirelessly for this president's agenda. He's doing so many great things to keep this country safe, to keep this economy going, and to make lives easier for every single American. I'm very proud of everything I can do to help this agenda.
Raj Shah, thank you very much for joining us, sir. We do appreciate it. A very important day. Thank you, sir.
Thanks so much for having me on.